right. Well, welcome everyone back to an episode of Velocity Work Live. Today I have a very special guest, Sam Mollaei, and I'm pumped because if you've heard me talk about complex grace, and if you haven't, you can go listen to the podcast on that. It's called The Unfortunate Middle. Just a few episodes back. And Sam has experienced complex grace with at least one of his businesses, so we'll get into that. But Sam, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Melissa. We're definitely overdue. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and hopefully we'll provide a lot of value to your audience.
Oh my gosh, I have no question. Well, so why don't we start with, will you just share with everyone who you are and what you do today, the Sam today?
Sure. So I'm an attorney here in Los Angeles, and I started my law firm 7 years ago. And at the time, I had no mentor, no how-to on how to start a law firm, how to get clients. I basically had to figure everything out by myself by watching a lot of YouTube videos and reading a lot of books. And I think I had a really good timing where everybody had a job. I was sitting at home learning, and I was able to apply a lot of techniques that I learned online to be able to grow a virtual law firm ever since, again, 6 or 7 years ago. So all these concepts about virtual, the Zoom, Calendly, all those things, I was already using those from many years ago. And then I got exposed to this whole world of funnels and online marketing and how to generate clients. And I was able to apply that to the legal, to my law firm. And I pretty much figured it out, and I started replicating it over and over and over and over. And I started doing it for other lawyers. And now fast forward 7 years later, I have seven law firms, all automated. And a lot of times when I share seven, people don't believe it, but it really is true. And I can't share the details exactly what niches I'm in. But some clues I could give is they're usually blue ocean niches. Let's just say, for example, I don't get into personal injury because that's very popular. I get into niches where I see opportunities. And again, I could do research to see, what the market's like. And then I go and establish those systems to bring in clients, make sure that the clients are signed up, then have a virtual team that could either sign up the clients or be able to refer them out. And I've been able to replicate that. Now I've been pretty much on the business side of law firms. And now as a passion project, I also teach this to other lawyers, how they can grow their own automated virtual law firm so that the law firm is completely virtual. And second part, which is I think the cooler aspect of it, is for it to be automated. A lot of online tools and using virtual assistants for the operation to run and so on.
Okay. Questions. I did not know that about the seven law firms. How come? I'm sure there's a really good answer to this. How come it's seven different law firms and not one firm with seven different areas?
So each one is its own practice type. So yes, there are times where you could have one practice type that has different services, but yeah, these are completely sometimes different practice types. So its own entity, its own structure, its own goals. Sometimes, again, I'm starting at different times. So, I come with a new idea. So that one has its own entity and its own structure and its own goal. So that's why at this point, seven. And it feels like at this point, it's like I'm like holding myself back from even doing more. But I just have to kind of limit it and just make sure we have the structure in place before we move on to the next one.
Yeah. Smart. Well, okay. Another question is, you could just tell me to can it if this is not a good direction to go. But how come you don't say what they are? Is it because they're so niche that it's important to not talk about them so you can dominate the market?
Yeah, I mean, because at this point I get copied and I get people looking me up so much. I've been trying to limit that as much as I can. So yeah, there's some that I've shared very openly exactly what I'm in. But some of the new ones, the one I could say in the past year and a half, I have the fastest growing this type of law firm in the entire nation. But I'd rather not share what that is because I don't want people to look up to see what that is. But I do. It just opens up a can of worms that I don't want people opening up.
Okay. No, that totally makes sense. Well, okay. So that's Sam today and kind of what you're up to today. And you have a family too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to say a little bit about that? Like, what's your family structure like?
Been married for 3 years, and we have an 8-month-old, very cute baby girl.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so some of the questions I often ask, one of them is like, tell me about when you lifted your business off of the ground, because that is not a cakewalk to do, no matter who you are or what you're building. Um, but I do want to know that. I also though want to know almost back further. I think I may start back further and then come back to that question, which is you have a really unique story with your upbringing, and I would love to know more about that. You're born in Iran, and you mentioned just briefly that you moved here when you were 8, and there's that a lot of what you saw and went through shaped you and how you think. So I would love to know, yeah, you want to tell the story a bit
Yeah,
from
yeah,
okay.
let's share. So I was born in Iran, which is at this point a regime, which is a very hardcore religious regime or government who runs the show. Amazing people, very smart country, very educated, cultured people. But unfortunately, the government is, very strict with how they run the country, and the people are trapped. So since the revolution happened, I believe in late 1970s, people started leaving based on religious discrimination, and I'm Jewish, so a lot of Jewish people left, in the 80s and 90s, and actually we were late in the game. Our my parents decided to leave in around 1996, and we basically had to sell everything within a couple of weeks and pretty much leave and escape. Actually, not even leave. So we had to go to another. We had to go to Austria, get a green card there, and then come to America. We came here and so grateful to be here, obviously, because of the opportunities and be able to be who you are and practice whatever religion you want to practice. And one cool story that I could share, which is pretty dramatic, but it really sets the tone for what it could be like to be in these other countries, is I remember very clearly being in first grade, first day of school, and they would line up the kids, everybody from through fifth grade, and they would line up everybody kind of army length apart, which means you put your arm in front of you, and they kind of make you stand there, and they start chanting. They make you start chanting certain phrases, and one of those phrases was, as I'm sorry, this sounds a little bit vulgar, but "Death to America, death to Israel." At the
Mm,
time, I was like a little kid. I have no idea what that means. I knew what Israel was because I'm Jewish, so I would
wow.
I would stand there and chant "Death to America," and I would skip over "Death to Israel" because I was, at the time I had no association with America, but I knew what Israel was. Fast forward, now living here in the beautiful land of America, which obviously I really appreciate, and I've also been able to visit Israel 10 times because I'm super in love with the country of Israel. Just like the two worlds apart, from going from that to now living here, I could definitely see the dichotomy of how the government can be so corrupt, and how they could hold people back. That's why I really strongly believe in people having the complete freedom to do what they want, and what makes them happy, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else.
Yeah. Wow. What?
Yeah.
When you guys left Iran, what was that like? I mean, was it escaping? Was it uh, a little
So
more above board than that? Like, what was it like?
yeah, most people have a lot crazier stories than mine. Some people, depends on when they left, but some people had to like leave on camels and donkeys, and they had to hide, and they had to go through Turkey and all this stuff.
Mhm.
Ours was escaping, as in we were pretending like we're going to Europe, going to
Mm,
Austria, and it was basically essentially it was a one-way ticket when they thought it was a two-way ticket. So we went there, and then we basically had to file as a refuge, I believe,
mm.
and then be able to apply for a green card, and then to be able to come to the US. I believe that's how it was done. At the time I was young, so whatever my
How
family went
long?
through
How long were you in Austria?
for 4 or 5 months. But some people
Okay.
would get stuck there for like a year or two, until they would get their papers. But yeah, there's still 20,000 people. There's still 20,000 Jews that are left in Iran, and unfortunately, because of inflation and the sanctions and everything, they're kind of stuck there. So because the money doesn't translate well to here. So actually, I still have my aunt and my one of my cousins there. They're kind of essentially stuck, and it
Wow.
doesn't look good. I don't want to get into politics, but it doesn't look good for Iran the next 10 years. A lot of stuff is
Yes.
happening. So
Yeah.
hopefully, wishing for the best.
Yes. Yes. Wow. What do you think having the upbringing that you did have, the experiences that you had as you were growing up, especially with that being as a major piece of your childhood. What do you think you extracted from that or adopted from that that maybe some people wouldn't have because they haven't been through it?
Don't take life for granted. Essentially, we're giving all these rights. Everybody's born into. If you're born in America, you're essentially just handed these rights that you inherently have, but they're not as inherent as you think. Just think about, again, other countries have to struggle to be able to be who you want to be and practice whatever you want to do. So don't take that for granted and be grateful, and
Mm-hmm.
go make your society a better place than what it is right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you guys move to LA right away?
Yeah, pretty much moved to LA. A lot of people either moved to the East Coast, they did to New York, or to LA. So yeah, most of the
Okay.
people are one or two
Okay.
people.
So let's talk about your first business and lifting it off the ground. You said you had some stories, so
Yeah.
I would love to hear them.
So I didn't realize how much of an entrepreneur I was until later on, until I realized later this is what entrepreneurship was. So I used to sell jeans on eBay when I was in middle school. Then actually my biggest thing that I did was in high school, I used to be a tutor. And what I did was I went and put up a poster in my honors office. It was basically for the honors program.
Uh-huh.
And I just put up a poster there with my phone number. And a day later, started getting a call. A day later, and a couple of more calls. And then within a couple of weeks, I was like fully booked. Like, this is cool. I was able to, just from one paper that I put up in the right place, get a lot of customers. And then I started getting more calls. So I started hiring my friends to take on these jobs, and I would just take my cut. And I'm like, this is so cool. And I was doing that. I was pretty much tutoring every day for 3 years, all throughout high school. I was making way more money than all my friends. I'm like, this is so cool. I'm gonna start up a tutoring company. So I started a tutoring company, and that's pretty much what I did for 4 years. And I always had this vision. I'm gonna have the most popular and the best tutoring company in the world. And then unfortunately, I got into UCLA. Then I started college, and I couldn't do it anymore. And I always wondered, I'm like, what could it have been if I would have had my own tutoring company? And then
Yes.
fast forward until a couple of months ago, I'm like, wait a minute, that's what I'm actually doing right
You're
now.
doing
I've been
it.
tutoring, and I didn't even realize it this whole time. I've been like literally tutoring lawyers about this. So I guess it came in a full circle. I have been tutoring, I just didn't realize it.
That's so cool. Are you talking about legal funnels?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't
Okay.
realize it. I'm like, what happened to tutoring? I'm like, oh, I am tutoring these days. What am I talking about?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Do you know who Wayne Dyer is? He's
I don't.
passed actually. He was a spiritual teacher, author, and I heard him one time talking about he just wanted to be a teacher. That's all he wanted to be was a teacher, and everybody said you're never going to make money as a teacher. So he kind of took a different route and winded around, and then ended up essentially teaching the world like
Mhm.
what was going on in his brain. So he's had a moment where he was like, I've been a teacher my whole life, and he made plenty of money. So the whole thing about you can't teach and make money was so anyway, it seems like you had a similar moment where you're like, I've been doing it.
Literally so funny.
That's so great. Well, okay. After the tutoring business, so after college, where'd you go to law school?
I went to UCLA.
Okay, but okay. So where after college and after you graduated law school, what was did you start your own firm right away?
Yeah, so it was actually, I worked at an employment law firm. It's a family's law firm. And before I went past the bar, I started having doubts about being a lawyer, at least being a traditional lawyer. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm like waiting for my bar results, but I'm already like not really looking forward to this.
Mhm.
So that's when I started soul searching and asking people around, and again, going on YouTube and reading books, until I met one of my friends who was 1 year ahead of me in law school. And he went right after law school, and he started his own law firm. And he shared with me, he's like, yeah, I'm doing it. And he shared with me how he's doing. And the fact that he just shared with me that he's doing it was basically my breakthrough. I'm like, if he can do it, I can do it too.
Mhm.
And that's when I kind of decided to go on my own. So yeah, I worked for a couple of months. I don't even consider anything, but it was pretty much right after I passed the bar that I basically started my Mollaei law firm. This is my first law firm.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, most of my time, had your first year, you don't have that many clients. So all you can do is
Mhm.
just learn. So just reading as many books as I could. Again, as
Yeah.
everyone else was like doing, discovery work, I was learning. So that really helped me.
How many years did it take for you to know like, oh, okay, I have a business. Like this is running.
Yeah, so I remember I was 11 months in and I started having doubts. I'm like, how am I gonna make money from this? I've been working, creating content for Mollaei Law. Okay, I'm making some money. I'm making like $2,000 or $3,000 a month, but how am I gonna do this? And then
Mhm.
a year later, exactly 1 month later, which is exactly the 12-month mark, it felt like exactly right then my work that I did in those first 12 months, that's when it kicked in.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned my first valuable lesson is you do what you do, but don't expect anything upfront because your results lag your actions. So
Yes.
that's where, and also in my first couple of years of entrepreneurship, a lot of times when you're entrepreneurs or when you have your own law firm, you're always expecting results. You're always like, oh my goodness, this month my revenue is lower than last month. This week I didn't set up any clients. The more the hardcore entrepreneur you become, you realize you try to look at things in the big picture. Did you have a
Mhm.
good year? Don't look at this month, particularly this week. Always look at everything in the big picture. So at this point, I only care about what I do, my actions, what I'm doing. The
Yes.
result will speak for itself down the line, 6 to 12 months later.
Yes. Do you are you familiar with leading indicators, lagging indicators? You use the word
No,
lag, so I was curious. Oh,
no, but I'm
you're
aware.
describing it. You're
Yeah, but
literally describing it. Yeah.
yeah, you want to
So,
explain it, Melissa?
well, yeah, just because you'll find it fascinating because it is how you think. Leading indicators you have more direct control over, and you can measure them along the way. Where lagging indicators it's like it's the result of the leading indicators. Like, and so it's easy to set lagging indicators like a revenue goal or a profit margin or like whatever. There's a number of cases open in a year or whatever, but you have to do work to get there. And so leading indicators are basically you breaking down how you're going to measure the work involved that will lead to the lagging indicators. So anyway,
Exactly. Or
I mean,
another way
that's
to
how you
explain
think.
it is like, what can you control? Which is,
Yes.
just say how many videos can you do? How many calls can
Yes.
you make? Those are controlling things. You control that. And you should create goals for those things and hold yourself accountable to those things. But
Yes.
don't let your emotions get involved with as you said, those indicators. So yeah, I totally agree.
Sam, brother from another mother. This is so great.
Sure.
That's because also something else that I work to help people realize is that you have to put your head down and go like do the work that you think like the actions that you're saying are going to eventually that your best guess that that's what's going to evolve into the results that you want to see. And people get all up in their heads. They stop too early and look around. They're like, this isn't working, just like you said. I'm like, just keep your head down, just go, and then lift your head every periodically, on a cadence where you can actually look up and see the fruit of your labor and see the headway that you have made. Sounds like you're really good at that.
Yeah, I think it comes down to cutting out the noise, especially in the generation that we're in. There's because of social media, we see posts. We're all part of Facebook groups, and somebody says, "Hey, what do you guys think about this?" And then now a bunch of people are commenting about that and giving their insight, and then there's more people that are searching about that to see what that is. Most people don't need new things.
Yeah.
I used to be like that too. Whatever I would find, I would try to do it. I now at this point, I just park it. If I find something new, I don't sign up for anything. I just park it, take
Yes.
a look at it in a very dedicated time for those things. So just cut out the noise, just cut off social media from your phone.
Yes.
You can access it on your computer, but just cut out the noise.
Yeah. Okay. Do you do that?
Yeah,
You
I have
cut out
no
like what's your habits around social and engaging in that way?
I have no notifications on my phone. So no incoming, nothing incoming to me. I'm always trying to be in control. So if I need to text somebody, I'll go text somebody, but no one's ever gonna interrupt me. So that's one practical thing.
Yeah.
Two is there's been times where I don't have TikTok on my phone right now. There's been times where I had to cut out Instagram. So ideally, yeah, I do know it's best to not have those things on your phone.
Yeah.
But the notifications thing is a very practical thing that anybody can do and everybody should do.
Yes. Yes. I totally agree. Do you do it for email as well?
Yeah, email. Thankfully, it was actually one of my things that I was like stuck at for 4 years. You know, when I was figuring out how to get clients and all that stuff, it was basically directly proportional to how much money I would make was directly proportional to how many emails I would answer. So I found myself answering emails from like 8 in the morning through 10 at night because again, if I just answer this email, I could also sign them up for another 2K. So let me just answer this email too. So I found myself answering emails all day long. So I had to come up with a creative way to be able to automate my email inbox. And it's actually one of the cool things that I teach inside of Legal Funnel
Mm,
is to create these templates and sequences and then be able to create structure in your email inbox for your
mm,
virtual assistants to be able to answer your emails based on the systems that you built. And now
mm-hmm,
at this point, I only, as weird as it sounds, and it's kind of, I'm sorry to my Legal Funnel students, but I only answer my emails like once every 2 or 3 days. And I
mm-hmm.
just pop in 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I'm not even 30 minutes, 20 minutes once every couple of days and do my thing and move on. And then the rest of the emails are being handled by my virtual assistants essentially.
That's so great. That's
Yeah.
so great. Um, do you ever, maybe you don't want to say this.
Yeah.
Well, so I recently have assistants helping me with my email. And one conversation is I don't want when an intro comes in, and I probably need to get him out of my own way with this, but I don't want me to never be involved. It's almost like a, hey, Melissa, someone's writing me, introducing me to someone, and for the assistant to take over and say, like, here's her availability. So sometimes I have them act as me. This is new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that, do you recommend that? Or do you recommend, like, no, just take the, like, this is her assistant and this is how this goes?
Yeah. So we can have it's kind of like you having agents, you know, just like how actors have agents that could act on their behalf, right? We learned this in some certain law classes. Well, I have virtual assistants who are my agents,
Mm-hmm.
which they're acting on my behalf. That means I am responsible for what they say,
Mm-hmm.
but they could also act on my behalf to move things forward. So yes, I do have again a lot of hundreds of emails a day that are being answered from my email inbox, but
Mm-hmm.
are actually being handled by virtual assistants. That's been my reality for the past 3 years, and I can tell you
Mm-hmm.
nothing has happened. Nobody has
Mm-hmm.
gone sued,
Yeah. Yeah.
and everyone's okay, and things are being handled. The work is being handled. The leads are being talked to. Clients are being, you know, everything is being handled. So I do see it as one of those limited beliefs that a lot of lawyers have that you feel like I can't trust other people to do things on my behalf. It's okay. You
Mm-hmm.
can do it little by little. No, I didn't. It took me some time to build this up, but yeah, it is totally possible. And again, you gotta think about your actions. Is it sustainable for you to answer your emails for the rest of your life? I hope not. I really
Right.
don't want you answering your emails for the rest of your life. That's not a good life to live. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you do have to find ways to be able to get it off your hands, and this is one practical way to do it.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it's so necessary to, at some point, you have to overhaul how you're thinking about email. Email will eat you alive
Ooh, yeah.
if you don't. Just like what you're saying. And people don't do an overhaul with like how they approach it because they're scared. Just you mentioned that and I believe that. They're scared of what that might mean or the trust factor. I'm sure there's a lot of different reasons people
There's
have.
ways. There's ways. Again, there's systems and things. There's a system to the madness. So you know, to create the actual language that they use, and they'll know how to use it. And people are, you know, your virtual assistants are not robots. They can think for themselves. A lot of people,
Right.
a lot of people who are not familiar with virtual assistants, they think like they're like robots or not. They're not smart. They're actually very smart, sophisticated
Yeah.
people.
Yes.
And it's a lot
Yes.
of times I trust the virtual assistants way more than somebody I've sometimes in house or somebody in here in the United States. So yeah,
Yeah.
again, it's because it's new. A lot of people question it. You know, whenever there's an unknown, you always like your mind goes towards why this shouldn't work and what about this risk and what about this
Yeah.
reason. I'm like, let me tell you the opportunities and benefits that come out of it. Let's talk about that, and then we'll get to the downsides. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So good. When you were talking about lifting your firm off the ground, it was like 11 months. You were thinking like, what am I doing? Is this going to work? And then 12 months, it all started to come together. In that first 11 months, I, uh, you don't have to go deep into it, but can you share what was the experience in that first 11 months? I guess how you were thinking and how you were feeling that entire time.
scared.
Yeah.
Didn't know how it's gonna work out. Um, I think I lived with less than $2,000 or $3,000 to my name for like a year or two. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
it got by, but I somehow got by. But I wish I would have had a mentor. I think a mentor at the time would have really, really, really helped. So my
Mhm.
mentors at the time were just YouTube videos and books.
Mhm.
Um, and
Well,
yeah,
clearly they did something right. That's
yeah,
a good. I mean, if you can't, if you don't have a mentor, you found it anyway in the ways that you could. Which,
yeah, yeah. But it definitely, I would say, mentor beats all those things by far.
yes,
Having somebody
agreed.
who's done it before you to just lead the way for you.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was pretty much do whatever I can to bring in any clients, and I think I got most of my clients through content marketing, which is basically writing blog articles and going on Quora. I would answer questions on Quora and write blog articles. That was pretty much the only way I would get by.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started learning about funnels, like on my second year, and paid ads, Google ads, and Facebook ads, and all that stuff that came in later.
Okay. How many years has it been? 7, did you say?
7 years, but yeah, it's
Okay.
been a progression. Again, the startup phase, then about learning about client generation for a couple of years, then the last 3 4 years has been about automations and systems and people.
Hmm. Okay. Very cool. Now, if you want to lift a firm off the ground, how long does it take you before you feel like, okay, here we go?
You wouldn't believe it. Within a couple of days, I have a new law firm.
But
Um,
I mean, generating what you want it to generate. Yeah.
Generating within a couple of days, I'm off the ground from scratch.
What?
Because I've been through it again. I've been through it before, so I know what it takes. It's
Yes.
usually research to see whether how do you get, how do my competitors get clients, and it usually comes from very specific sources, and there aren't that many. So it's either going to come from Google or Facebook, as much as I'm concerned. So I'll go
Mm-hmm.
look to see what's going on in those two places. I
Mm-hmm.
go learn from that. I go get certain information that I need for every type of new law that I get into, such as qualifying questions, like how to qualify a lead,
Mm-hmm.
um, what's the the people who are the who's the who,
Mm-hmm.
and then basically at that point I go and prepare the ads.
Mm-hmm.
Again, either Google ads or Facebook ads, and then I create the campaign within a day, get approved, create a Google sheet to make sure that I'm tracking the leads, and wait to see whether my hook, whatever I created, works. If I start getting leads, great. Put on a virtual assistant, go call up these leads. Here's a retainer, go sign them up. If you sign up
Mm-hmm.
the clients, great. At that point, do we serve them ourselves, or do we refer them out, or what can we do about them?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was it. Then within a week, we could definitely get things off the ground. And if you guys don't believe me, let me just show you this. I have a packet. Every time I get into a new niche, I
Uh-huh.
basically go and research it. And so this is all the different practice types that I've been able to kind of learn and get into.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you
so
do you hire associates? If you don't refer them out, do you hire associates or do you actually
yeah, always, yeah. I'm not gonna do any legal work because
I
my
figured.
that's not my desired zone, and that's not what I'm good at. So yeah,
Yeah.
I always have to surround myself with my compliments. So
Yeah.
I'm not a salesperson. I'm more behind the scenes systems and things like that. So I always surround myself with people who can talk,
Yeah.
people that can talk essentially, because I'm
Okay.
kind of like the brain behind it.
Yes. Okay, sweet. So good, Sam. Well, okay, tell me, we talked a little bit about this before the show, just to introduce the concept, but you knew exactly what you wanted to, like one thing that you could share. I ask people, what are the we things that matter to you? And something did come to your mind. Will you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, you want to explain the wee things just in case the audience?
I do. And maybe this is the first time, but it's on my podcast and it's been in every show up to this point. But the wee things are the seemingly irrelevant small things that make a big difference with your success. So you can think about this as the things that will tee you up well. It's preparation, it's how you operate. There's the small things about how you operate that really set you up to have a sense of ease and flow when it comes to execution, um, or doing the important things in life. So yeah.
It's 3 words. It's daily micro improvements.
Okay.
It's a mindset shift that you're
Uh-huh.
gonna have, that every day you're a little bit better, and whatever you're working on is a little bit more refined.
Yeah.
And I realized this when it came to the funnels, is that it's very relatively easy to put up a funnel or something. You put up something to bring in new clients, but most of the result comes from that constant refinement based on things that you learned from you putting it up. So I usually just put it up right away,
Mm-hmm.
see what happens, and then from that, off data, what's
Mm-hmm.
working, what's not, different languages that I use, see what's working. So it's that constant refinement, that constant improvement every day in every aspect of all my different law firms. There's something that's always being improved. And as soon as anything is stagnant, that's when it kind of goes down. And that's when when I don't have time for it, I go and hire a managing director, somebody
Mm-hmm.
who can oversee it and be on the lookout to see what's going on and know the numbers so we can constantly refine it. But yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
really comes down to daily micro improvements.
That's good. I mean, do you at the end of every day take a chance to reflect, really kind of capture the lessons learned, so to speak, or the things that need to be tweaked? Or, I mean, it sounds like it's ingrained enough in you now that it's the lens that you look at everything through. So it's not like you need an activity at the end of the day. Is that fair to say?
No, it is true. It usually comes to the thoughts and whether you should change. Usually comes to you when you step away from it. So
Mm-hmm.
what I do is I have an app called Todoist on my phone,
Mm-hmm.
and even after I finish off work about like 5 or 6, at that point when I step away from my laptop, that's when like things come to me. It just like comes to me. It's like
Mm-hmm.
also out of nowhere, it's like, oh, don't forget to do that, or don't forget to refine that. So right away, I don't just say, oh yeah, that was a good idea. I just put it in my phone, write it right then and then. And as soon as I wake up in the morning, I either add that to my schedule to do that day, or push it back to maybe Friday, or delegate it right away. So I know always what I'm gonna do with it right then. Or sometimes scratch it, maybe park it, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
think about it later. But it's that constant, new things that come to you, write it down right away. So you can, when you sit down, that's when you can go and implement or delegate it off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if someone wanted to really adopt or take seriously for themselves the daily micro improvements, but it's not enough of an ingrained thing yet, how would you say they should get started with being able to do that?
It's having a mentor who, one, mentor. Two is you create a Google Doc or a sheet where as your day goes, if you have questions or things that come up, write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then ideally, that's what I do. I have a mentor that, as the day goes, I'm like adding things to it. But about this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about hiring this person. I'm thinking about this decision. I'm thinking all this stuff. And then finally, when I do talk to him on the phone, I just go down the list. What do you think about this? And then, like, based on feedback within a second, I just accept it, and then I just use that to kind of guide me on what I'm going to do. So it really,
Mm-hmm.
really, honestly, really does help to have somebody that you can ask questions, get feedback every so often. I have a mentorship program that we do that every 2 weeks. So I try to provide that kind of value.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that practically that's what it takes. A
Yeah.
person, and it was a way for you to be able to capture those questions and answers.
Yeah. 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 Okay. We're getting some insight into how you think about business, or like the mindset that you bring to business. How does your business mindset show up in your personal life?
It's all about expectations.
Mm.
A lot of people just have expectations of how things should be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not making enough money. I'm not doing this. So how come I'm not getting clients? These are all like, again, your focus is going to what you think you deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you got to realize nobody owes you anything, and the world doesn't owe you anything. So, so instead, don't think about what you get out of it. Always try to, again, it's an ongoing thing for everybody, is to think about how can I give first without expecting anything in return. If you, again, it's a lifelong journey that we're all on to constantly refine ourselves to be all about giving, but that really is the secret sauce to life. How do I know this? Is because I'm a religious person, and ultimately, the very important question is, why did God create the world? Is, one of the answers is in Judaism, is because God is all giving, and He wants to give you an opportunity to be able to be like Him and to be also all giving. So be like God, be all giving without expecting anything in return. So yeah, that obviously manifests itself in different aspects of life, including business. So the people
Mm-hmm.
that are very all about giving and being a good person, those are people that look around. Those are the most successful people around you. Versus the
Mm-hmm.
selfish people, like what's in it for me? What will I get out of it? How does it
Mm-hmm.
benefit me? All those people are usually short-term gainers that maybe they could do well, but in long term they're miserable and they're not going to do that well in life. So be
Mm-hmm.
a long-term thinker, and I'll make it all about giving.
Yeah, that's so good. I wrote down what you think you deserve. That's so interesting. That's so true. Um, Even thinking about, why don't I have this number of clients that I'm wanting? Like the questions that you were just asking or posing, and that the people think that they actually deserve that is uh it takes you out of the work. It takes you out of the game when you ask yourself those questions instead of, and which no one would probably consciously think, although maybe some would, I deserve this, but that's the tone of all of it, right? Um we talk a lot about going on facts, not feelings. And that's very feeling emotion, like pity, self pity, like I deserve more, I should have more. Instead of, if you want more, stay in the game and figure out, like, okay, tweak what you're doing and continue to learn and put the next foot forward and then evaluate. And if you stay in that game, then you, like you said, that's the, like, you focus on the action every day, the results will come. You just have to keep focusing and keep taking the next right steps, and to the best of your ability. So it just seems it ties in really well with everything else you've said.
Yeah, and also it's a very integral part of another huge aspect of our life, which is our relationships with people, especially with our spouse, with our close friends. If your mind goes towards this person said this person didn't do this for me, this person didn't invite me, those are all the wrong mindsets to have. When was the last time you invited somebody over? When was the last time you were nice to somebody and got them a random gift? Don't
Mm-hmm.
so, and also, when it comes to your spouse, stop expecting things. Just focus on giving, 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 and you're happy when you give, not when you receive.
Mm-hmm.
Receiving, it's not as, it's very temporary. When you receive something, yeah, it feels good, but long lasting happiness comes from ultimately giving.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So good. Um, I definitely have some more questions I want to ask
Ooh.
you. What over the years, as you've built what you've built and you've done what you've done and you've experienced what you've experienced, what helps you stay the course with a commitment that you've made? Because I mean, it's not a cakewalk most of the time if you're trying to do something you've never done before.
It's working in my desired zone, realizing what I'm good at. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also what I enjoy doing, being very conscious of that.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very practical way to come up with that. It was actually in one of my trainings that I taught this. If you just go on YouTube, search how to hire virtual assistants, legal funnel.
Mm-hmm.
In the first half of this training, where ultimately I teach people how to delegate essentially. But before you delegate, you got to learn all the stuff that you're doing that you probably shouldn't be doing so you can know what to delegate.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from, let me see if I can pull out the book
Mm-hmm.
here. I think I put it away, but it's basically, the idea is everybody works on tasks that's broken down into four types. The first type is the stuff that you don't enjoy doing and you're not necessarily good at. That's your drudgery zone. The stuff that you, again, that you don't like doing, that you're not good at. The second zone, which is your disinterest zone, which is stuff that you're good at but you don't enjoy doing. Okay. The third zone is stuff that you enjoy at but you're not necessarily good at, such as creating your website. Maybe some people, a lot of lawyers, create their own websites. That falls into that thing. And the last zone, which is the where we want to be, is your desired zone, which is all the stuff that you're good at and you also enjoy doing. And that's where I think pure success comes from. That's what success means to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily how much money you make. I want to be a happy person and a successful person working in my desired zone. As long as I'm working in my desired zone, I consider myself a successful person. So I'm very conscious of what those things are, which for me, I could share with you, it's creating systems, creating and just creation, I think, is the ultimate common denominator. And then everything else has to be handed off to other people who can do it better than me,
Mm-hmm.
or automate it using tools that can get a lot of these things off your hands, or eliminate it completely. Stop doing those things.
Mm-hmm.
So every day I wake up, I get out of bed. Today I woke up at 5:30 for no reason. Maybe it was because the baby was crying, but besides that, still got up. I could have stayed in the bed, but I got up and started working, and I'm happy every single day because I'm working my desired zone. So
Mm.
if you're if you're not happy, you feel burnt out, go figure out what the stuff that you enjoy doing, what you're good at, and hopefully be able to over time be able to hand off everything else and or eliminate it completely or learn how to automate it.
Can you say the names of the four categories again? Drudgery was the first one. What were the other names?
Yeah,
Or do you
it comes.
remember?
This is not, by the way, it's not my thing. That's why
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull out the book. There we go. I found the book.
Oh, cool.
The book. It's called. Let me put on my camera. Free to Focus.
Oh, yeah.
Free to
Yes.
Focus by
A lot of my
Mollaei.
clients, a
Yeah,
lot of my clients love the full focus planner, which I think he creates as well.
I believe so. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's where it comes from. So if you're like interested in that,
Cool.
either read the book or again share with you the video where I give a worksheet and you can follow along to fill that out, and I give examples for lawyers what that is.
Cool.
Um, so yeah, it's all there. I'm not sure. I forgot what the names are. I think it was drudgery zone, disinterest zone, something else,
Mm.
and then desired zone. I forgot the
Okay, cool.
yeah.
That's so cool. Um, yeah, I'll have to check out your video, and everybody here should do that too. There's not anybody listening to this podcast or this live that should not go check that out. So that's great. Um, okay, excellent. So you would say that is doing that thing, making sure that your focus is in the interest zone is the thing that allows you to continue forward with your commitment. Even when stuff is hard, you still get to show up for the work that you enjoy. It's not drudgery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would also, I mean, that makes me think that you likely, not that you don't push for things or you want to see certain things happen by certain time, like a deadline, meaning like a goal. So you have a goal you want to meet at a certain, at the end of the year, let's say. My hunch is you strike me as someone who understands or abides by, of course, you'll do what you can to get there, but it doesn't mean anything if you didn't hit it on time. You just stay in your zone of interest. You keep going. The goal will be hit. It's just maybe it didn't happen exactly when you were planning for, but it will be hit. Is that
A,
true?
a goal or a task without a time definition is just a wish list,
Yes.
right? A lot of people like, I get people to do things. I'm gonna do it. Great. When?
Yeah.
Next week. What day?
Yes.
Tuesday. What time?
Yes.
Tuesday at 9 a.m. So after you have everything from, just have a rule of thumb from this point forward. Anything you need to get done, it needs to have that time attached to it. So yeah,
Yes.
again, I learned how to learn this myself, and not everything I look at has to have again, practically is like in my to-do list. I know I'm doing it that day.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So good. Um, Tell us about a challenge that you're facing now. I mean, you've been through a lot of challenges, you've overcome a lot of barriers in the past, but what are you facing now?
It's, I think, a challenge that a lot of law firm owners are probably going to have for the next couple of years, which is finding good people to hire.
Mm,
Um, I have infinite business ideas and business things that I know with 100% certainty it will make money, but I just
mhm.
don't have enough people to be able to manage and direct the division. So, unfortunately, because again, I don't want to get political, but because of all the money printing and all them, handing away money, a lot of people don't want to work, or their expectations have changed. They expect to get paid more or something like that. So it's very hard. At least I know where I am in Los Angeles, it's been very tough finding enough good people to hire.
Mhm.
So I'm always on the lookout for, and at this point, it doesn't even have to be in Los Angeles. It could be even virtually, wherever they are. So
Mhm.
if you
Mhm.
guys, I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna put it out to the universe that if you are looking to work with a very forward-thinking law firm, definitely have plenty of positions available. I
Mhm.
basically my secret sauce is figuring out exactly what you're good at and what you enjoy doing, and I basically fit you in that role exactly. So
Yeah.
that I imagine it will be the biggest challenge for most law firm owners in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Certainly is. Do you have specific tools or philosophies that you abide by with hiring? Like, do you have a certain assessment that you love to use um and how do you think about hiring? You know, there's some people that say, and it probably depends on the role, but there's some people that say if they have the right attitude, that's what I need, and I can help shape them. Um, or are you want skills and attitude, like both have to come in a package? I know it's ideal, but yeah.
Yeah, the skill doesn't matter as much. For me, again, it's I think the first layer is just understanding what you're good at and what you enjoy doing. That's the first thing. Second is what's
What
your
if they
vision.
what if they don't know that?
Then that's a
Like,
problem.
okay. Well, the reason I asked that is I was wondering if you like have an assessment that extracts that out of people,
No, just
or
through
okay,
questions. Do you
okay,
enjoy? I give them some categories. Do you enjoy talking to people? Do you doing things behind a computer?
yeah,
So those are like the major categories that I give, and I usually like, oh, I like talking to people. Okay, good. Then you could be, you could
yeah,
talk. You could talk
yeah.
to people.
Okay, sweet.
So first, understanding that. Second is like, what's your long-term vision to see where they're heading, where their head is at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want them to be a long-term kind of thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody short term. I don't hire anybody short term. If I get any sense of clue that you're like a short term and that you're just using me as a stepping stone, I'm sorry, I will not hire you.
Mm.
Um, and third is just being a good person, essentially, being willing to listen, be courteous, be somebody that we want to enjoy working with. We have
Mm-hmm.
no, if you have attitude and all that stuff, yeah, obviously there's no room for that. So very,
Yeah,
it's all people centered kind of interviews, not necessarily your
yeah,
skills. I barely look at resumes. I just ask questions freely.
yeah, yeah. And so even with that, like even it's still tough right now to find the people. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, you mentioned, I know you're into crypto. I don't
yeah.
know to what extent. I
A
am as
lot, a
well.
lot of lawyers are actually, believe it or not. I'm trying to see what we could do about that. If you're interested in that, Melissa, we could do something, a project together for
Oh,
something with crypto or Bitcoin specifically for lawyers. I'm definitely interested. But yeah, let's talk
oh.
about it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, you know, I try to decide where I get information from, and one of the sources that really opened my eyes was Real Vision. Do you know who Real Vision is? Raoul Pal. Oh, that's
Oh, Raw
interesting.
Paul, yeah, Raw
Yeah,
Paul, yeah.
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 So he
He's like my number two or three most
Oh,
heard.
okay. He
Yeah.
has a network that he does actually macro markets, the global markets, fiat currency, but he has a channel dedicated to crypto.
Yep.
And so it's opened my eyes to a lot. My husband is extremely involved and does a lot of projects with NFTs and works on the back end of things. And so he's pretty heavily involved in the world of crypto as well. Um, and I've learned a lot in this space of the power of playing the long game, because people don't in crypto. They get
Yes.
scared, they're in, they're out, they're trying to make money. And people who don't have that approach have made a lot of money. So
Yes. I was literally having this conversation with my wife last night, literally about this exact topic, the whole two side of the long term thinkers versus the short term thinkers. And there's a
yes.
lot more short term thinkers, unfortunately, because it's so let's talk about that. So
Yeah.
my thing is, again, I think the easiest, best way to go about it is to have a very long-term vision on this. But I think the bigger part of the population, the less, I think, again, these are my opinions. I'm sorry if anybody's offended. Less sophisticated people are short-term thinkers in business and life and relationships and in crypto, who are in it for the short term. What can I get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
And practically speaking, that's when you start buying like Dogecoin and Shiba coin and all the other ones and all the coins
Mm-hmm.
that probably you're like not that many people know about. You don't it's not a good path to go down. And yes, there are times when you can get lucky, and yes, you understand that these are all uh quote unquote like bad coins, and I'm not going to be holding on to it and I'll sell it within a day or two. But and I've been around those people. I used to play poker just for recreationally with home games, and I knew the people that were like that were like short-term thinkers and never really ended well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could only take so many of those short-term decisions until you get burned out. So yeah, I'm all about long-term. I got into crypto 5 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
it really definitely helped to go and see it go from from where it was from 1,000 to 19,000, and then see
Mm-hmm.
it come drop back down to 89%. And I saw that, and I saw how people reacted to it, and I learned so much from that experience. And the same thing is about to happen again. We're about to go the next 3 to 5 months. We're about to see that rise and then come back down, and a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money just because they don't understand how these things
Mhm.
work. They can't zoom out enough to understand this is a long-term kind of play. A lot of people, unfortunately, are going to buy when it's going up, when everybody's talking about it, and they're going to sell when it's going down or when it's already down. So yeah, I
Yeah.
am a long-term crypto holder, especially the top ones, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana.
Hmm.
I'm all about that. And yeah, I do think it's life-changing, and it is a very um, a great time to learn about it and get into it. But yeah,
Yeah.
be careful too. You need to get educated in it first before you get into it.
That's that's true. I was just gonna see the charts that we really like. Uh, I'm just gonna see if I can find it real quick. But we'll see. The other thing I was gonna say that you just mentioned, oh, you said it's life changing. It's fun to see what I'm observing. It feels like, and this is straight from Raoul Pal. It was talking about it's like the migration from and all the macro guys, the big macro guys that have been macro guys for decades, are dumping it and going over to crypto. Essentially, right? I don't know what they have left over in fiat currency, but um, and that this is like I heard Rob Powell say at one point, people are saying, I want this and I want this and I want this, and they're frustrated with the markets. And it's like, it's right here. It's literally right here of what you're asking for is right here. But they get too afraid to cross over or learn or sink into the education of all of that. And so then they just stay where they are. And there's a cost to that. They don't feel it or see it, but there's a cost to it. Um, so okay. I was
Melissa, you want to share your favorite source for learning about crypto?
Real Vision. I did a podcast episode on them in February, I think. But Real Vision with Raoul Pal. And but if you type in Real Vision Network, it will come up. I don't know if it's .com or not, but it's it's an extensive library of education and conversations with incredibly intelligent people. It's like an unlimited amount of really intelligent people who are thinking through these things, and they don't all agree. So that's what makes it great, is that you get to see both sides of the coin with conversations and how people are thinking about this. What's one
Like,
of your favorite sources to
by
learn?
far, my favorite is called Invest Answers on YouTube. If you just go on
Hmm.
YouTube and search Invest Answers, I found him, and he literally only had a couple thousand subscribers in January. And he's very intellectual, very smart guy who's been in finance for 30 years. Pretty much had his epiphany last year. He went all in, very
Mm.
hardcore, and now he's super obsessed and super fascinated in this whole world. And every day he puts out daily videos where he goes in depth, shares daily news about what's going on,
Mm.
and provides a lot of analysis of what's working, what's not. And he's pretty spot on as it gets and very sophisticated. So yeah,
Mm.
I follow him religiously, and
That's good
it's
to
been
know.
life changing. And I share it with a lot of our legal funnel students, and people come back to us like, "Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing the source with me." But yeah, all the information it's all there. It's all there. But
There's
yeah,
okay, good. There's also, do you know about a podcast called The Breakdown with NLW? That's good too. Daily podcast that talks a lot about what's happening, especially with the regulations and the attempt at regulation, like all the things that are going on. He speaks to that every day. He tries to give you sort of the latest on what's going on, not just with regulations, but if something is happening behind the scenes.
yeah.
Um, and then the Twitter account, the guy that produces the charts that I like to look at and take into consideration, is Plan BTC.
Oh yeah, that's a really
Oh,
good one.
okay. Okay. So that's another one you like.
Yeah,
But Plan
he's,
B is
he's
his Twitter
yeah, this
Twitter
guy's been
handle.
spot on. Actually, it's been spot on the last 4 months. He's
Yeah.
called out every single month, and is calling for 80 87K this month.
Uh-huh.
And 90th. So yeah, he's spot on. And I have another one, which is it's very easy to get in, but how do you know when to get out, right?
Uh-huh.
There's a very good website that I'll be definitely using for me to know when to get out. It's called cbbi.info, which basically what he does is he takes 20 different charts that
Oh.
are 10. How many is that? I don't know how many that is. 10 to 12, 10 to 20 charts seems like 10 charts, and each chart is an indicator of where we are in the market. But what this one chart does is it takes all that and summarizes it and gives it a score 0 to 10 of exactly where we are. So right now on November 11th, sorry, November 3rd, where the score is 62 out of
Mm.
100. So whenever we get above 90, that's when like things are gonna get kind of risky.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's something I'm gonna be using to kind of determine when I'm gonna be selling
Yeah.
some of the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's CDBI,
CBBI.info.
like
C
cat, dog, ball.
the cat ball
Oh,
I dot info.
CBBI. Okay. Cool. Oh, that's great. And I know for law promoters, like, where are you guys going right now? What is happening? But this, I do
No,
think this
there's
is
a lot of
not
interest.
something that I feel uh prepared or qualified to teach to people that I work with, to law firm owners I work with. But man, here's what I do know. The more you can wake up to what is happening, the more you can educate yourself, then you can start to decide your next steps. Because truthfully, a lot of people that are staying asleep to all of this, their next steps, their decisions being made for them, and they don't see it and understand it. You can actually empower yourself to have an awareness of this new world, and it's not going away. It's not. It's
Yeah,
here.
it's too important to be ignored. And
Yeah.
people who don't understand it, the first level is you always question it and you call it a scam and all that stuff. Everybody who's not believes it has been through that stage themselves.
Mhm.
And if you whenever I hear that, I'm like, I don't want to talk to you because we can't have the same conversation because it just shows you haven't studied it. I promise you, if you actually put in the time and actually study it, there's no way you'll be able to say any of the things that you're probably saying to question it. So yeah, the more
Uh-huh.
deeper you go down the rabbit hole, the more convinced that you realize that it's inevitable. It is
Yes.
going to happen whether you like it or not, and it is life changing. And I'd rather be, riding the wave with it. I don't want to let this one transformative time in our life pass by. And I don't want to
Mm.
be that old person like wishing I would have bought more real estate when I was younger. I want to be
Mm-hmm.
that person. I don't want no regrets. So
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
yeah I've been personally very aggressive with it. And then yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
but definitely it takes education first. Start with that, and then
Yeah.
things will
Yeah.
open up.
There is a really great podcast that aired, I think, last week on the Tim Ferriss show. It was with Naval Ravikant and Chris Dixon, I think is his name. And the whole conversation was meant to be about Web 3.0. Like, what is that? What's the difference between Web 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0? And it was an interesting conversation. I learned a lot that I didn't understand, I didn't know, but it basically turned into, and they started laughing. It turns into a conversation about crypto because of the privacy that exists at that level, and the same thing is going to be able to happen for people on Web 3.0. And it was fascinating. It was a really good conversation.
And it's so crazy how multifaceted it is in so many different ways. How that proves that this is inevitable, and that's where technology is heading. When it comes to mathematically, from politically, socioeconomically, so many different ways. There's so many arguments that all lead to this technology.
Yes, yes, definitely. Fun to talk about. I mean, I still feel I have a lot to learn. I don't think I'm an expert, but I enjoy learning about it, and I stay plugged in because of that.
Yeah,
So,
I noticed a lot of lawyers are intrigued about it too. So if there's enough interest, maybe let Melissa know. And I would love to do something with you, Melissa, about this. And you could bring your husband on. I'm sure he has a lot to share too. It'll be kind of fun to share this with your audience.
yeah, yeah. Okay, we should chat for sure. Um, well, I guess the last question I have, I mean, I could ask you a lot more. You're so fun and easy to talk to. But why? Usually I ask, like, why this? Why do you do what you do? Um, but this feels too small. You do many things. I don't know if you can, maybe just entrepreneurialism is a way to describe it, but yeah, why this? Why do you do what you do?
It's that what started me on this journey was one thing, and that's what also drives me forward is that complete freedom of time. Kind of again being my own boss, and not just being my own boss, not being a slave to whatever I'm doing. I'm in control. That
Mhm.
means if I want to, I could have this conversation with you. Like that by itself is, blessing to be able to do that in the middle of, early in the morning for me to be able to do that. So complete freedom of time is everything. And I know more and more people are realizing this. That's so valuable. That's why Uber is so popular, and a lot of people want to do those jobs. It's the exact reason. So,
Mhm.
but again, just because you're a business owner doesn't mean you're completely free. Usually, that's the first level of being a law firm owner, is kind of doing a lot of things yourself. But that's where you go and hire Melissa, or come learn from me, where we could teach you how to be more like a business owner. You could run it instead of being a business operator, being a lot of day to day.
Mhm.
That's where it's at. It's a whole different language. There's a whole science to it. You gotta learn that, so that you can have the complete freedom of time.
Mhm. Yeah. I said last question, but I want to tell you something. It's going to leave me the exact words that you used, but the first time I was ever around you virtually was at Law Firm Growth Summit, which
Mhm.
is event. And there was a panel that we were both on, and someone asked a question, and your response was very short and sweet. And the moment that you answered the way you answered, I was like, who is this guy? I got to know this guy. Because it was just so, the way that you stated it was profound, even though maybe people be like, yeah, I know. But the way that you stated it was beautiful. And it was something like, so I'm hoping you can
Uh,
remember
yeah,
exactly.
is that
Uh,
the more you matter to your law firm, the
yes.
less your law firm is worth.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Again, everybody hears that. You're like, okay, that sounds cool, but not really. Like, dissect that. The more you matter to your law firm,
Uh-huh.
the less your law firm is worth. So if you're
Yes.
an integral part of your own law firm, you're essentially the bottleneck of your own law firm, and
Yeah.
everything has to flow through you. And you will, because of that, you always be limited by what you can do.
Yes.
Instead, if you get other people involved and you create systems and processes um, for everything to be handled outside of you, then you're able to grow more. Your limitations get lifted, and you're able to handle more and do more. And again, ultimately, that leads to you working your desired zone, which is ultimately what success is. So
Yes.
go get
Yes.
it.
I
Go get
mean,
it.
when you said that, I seriously, I don't know if you said anything after that. In my head, you said that
Yeah, I didn't say,
sentence, and
I
then
didn't
it was
say
like
much.
mic drop. I was like, boom. Nobody else here needs to say anything. It was just like that was the point. And people try to create confusion and complexity out of things. Like that sentence helps streamline how you should be thinking. Period. I thought it was. I just love the way you said it. Okay, and then actually, final question. There's 3 gold records behind you.
Yeah.
What are those?
This so ClickFunnels, which is the tool that I use to create the systems for bringing in clients, gives
Yeah.
out these awards for generating $1 million online with funnels. So I was
Ah.
able to receive that from Mollaei Law, and then I was able to replicate that funnel and replicate it for EIN Express. I'm trying
Uh-huh.
to do that, and then I was able to earn my third one for Legal Funnel,
Uh-huh.
and then also I was been able to earn my fourth one, but I'm gonna wait till apply for next year, so I could say I got it in every year, every year in the last 4 years.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I could probably say, and I have 4 7-figure companies, 3 of them being law firms
Yeah.
that I've been able to do this for. And yeah, and actually, good news is one of our legal fund students from session 2, which is about over a year ago,
Uh-huh.
earned his just yesterday earned his $1 million in revenue year to date just yesterday, which is really amazing news
That
for us for legal
is.
funnel. Because and then the one thing I always share about this is that if these awards weren't out there, I don't think I would have received it, or I would have went for it. But just because this vision was created for me, that's when I went and got in it. So
Yeah.
whenever a lot of people have been like, oh, why is he showing off, or like, why is he saying that he did that, did well, is because once you hear that someone else has done it, you realize it's possible,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's when you go likely do it. So it's not about showing off, it's just about just showing you that it is possible, so you can also do it
Yes.
yourself.
Yes. Oh my gosh, so good. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
I almost didn't ask. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming on and
Yeah.
spending time with us and sharing with everyone um, just more about you, the human behind the businesses.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Um,
And I want to give you props, Melissa. I know you've been consistently providing value to your audience. Your mind is in the right place, and I want to give you props. And I believe in your mission and what you do. So I fully
Thank
support
you.
you, Melissa. So if
Oh,
anybody is on the fence of like, hey, I'm getting a lot of value, no, I trust Melissa. Go figure out exactly what she's offering, what she's doing, and just sign up for it. The value is there. The ROI for investing yourself is always there. So I
thank
encourage you
you.
guys, don't wait. Just go bite the bullet and just, you know, take
Thank
action.
you. That means a lot. And yeah, and I think highly of you. So it means a lot coming from you. And also, sort of on the flip side, I mean, I don't legal funnels sounds amazing anyway, but there's things that you mentioned today that are a part of it that I wouldn't have known that, right? Like the email templates and learning about how to set yourself up to have assistants handle certain things. And like that feels like a no-brainer for law firm owners. I mean, that's not what I do, but it's what you do. So I think people should go check it out. Yeah, it sounds incredible. Is it
Yeah.
legalfunnels.com?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I basically teach lawyers how to create their own automated virtual law firm,
Mm,
which is encompasses how to get clients and how to be able to automate it through systems and virtual assistants for it to run on its own. And also, I'm also very good at collecting a lot of Google reviews. That's also really valuable.
mm,
All that encompassed into a program, into an online coaching program. And yeah, so if you're interested, just Google Legal Funnel, or just you could also go on Facebook and search for Legal Funnel members who have a Facebook group. Feel free to look us
mm.
up and apply, and we would love to talk to you.
Do you, if someone is like, well, I don't know that I want a fully virtual firm, it still feels like there's a lot of value that they would get out of the program if they're not trying to exactly be you, but they want to lean that direction. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you incorporate different things that you learn about the virtual law model into your own practice. Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
gonna necessarily have to have a completely virtual
Okay.
and automated law firm, but yeah, you could definitely
Yeah.
take things and incorporate it. And
That's
then
awesome.
if you guys are listening to this and you guys want to join, apply to Legal Funnel, just mention Velocity Work and Melissa.
Ah,
That way we could kind of know where it's coming from.
yeah. That's great. Thank you. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
All
Appreciate it.
right.